So, today is my birthday, and I would like to speak about general topics, the future of my current projects, and all this. Everything is going well. I'm recovering from 2 decades of losses, and not my direct responsibility. I did what I could with what I was given. So, thing is, I managed to survive, and that's what matters. Thing is, mm, current situation of the world. The world is doing fine. Some people are troubled, but the world is fine. The world doesn't really care about us. So let's enjoy that fact, shall we? Yeah. Should I talk about international situations? The war in Ukraine. I have to stand with Ukraine on this one. I met a few people from Ukraine since the beginning of the conflict. They, we have had refugees in Scandinavian countries, Denmark and Finland, those two countries where I currently live. Um, and what I can say about Ukrainians is that they are really hardworking people. What I have seen so far is that they come here usually looking for work. They are looking for work. All of them. There was no exception. And when they cannot find work, do you know what they do? They go back to their country at war. Their country is at war. And usually, by the way, the people that I met here, women or elder women with small children. And when they don't, old couples as well, when they don't find work, they go back. That's what they do. That's what Ukrainians do. I cannot and I should not criticize people who behave like that, and I recommend all the foreigners who come to Scandinavian countries to do the same. They should do the same. You should come here looking for work. If you cannot find work here, you should look abroad. And there's nothing wrong with that. Then there is the racial currently, because it's being pushed by politicians more than by people themselves, where it seems that white people are starting to have enough. Recent events with an American mother who was defending her child and being harassed by a person who was filming her when she defended herself from being, they were stealing from her. So I lived in similar neighborhoods, and you have to be tough in those situations. You cannot be nice. If you're nice, they will probably try to hit you, because that's the way they have been educated. So, plus all the racial hatred against white people that is being promoted for decades in the media. It's finally bringing its effect in full force, and well, what results of it, as I always say, the problem is not really revolution. Whenever somebody comes and talks about revolutionary principles with me, my reply is usually, it's not the revolution that is really the problem. It's the counter revolution that is what bites you. So people fight back. And it seems that the white people, whatever that means, right, such a broad term, is having enough. And they started, instead of throwing money to political parties that I hope they realize is fruitless, and they are going to start throwing money at each other, helping each other up, as they should, because people are being persecuted without a very good reason. If there was a good reason to it, I will be all for it. And don't get me wrong, I have no bone to pick in this one, other than it's sad that the media is promoting such racial division, because nothing good will come out of it. And the worst part is that they're doing that just for the sake of clickbait, because corporate media is dying. It's slowly dying. It's trying to fight back, but they can't, because they have their hands tied in a way. They cannot use certain words that the alternative media can use, and they do use wildly whenever they feel like it. So it makes it for the corporate media harder, because they are less interesting to listen to than alternative media. So it's hard to fight with your hand tied behind your backs. So what they're doing, they're starting to clickbait, and clickbait include things that bring people's attention, and it can be absurd statements. So too many decades of it, and the mainstream media is literally promoting racial hatred. So it doesn't matter against who it is. The fact that this is being promoted and endorsed by the media is a big no-no for my book. They shouldn't do that. All power to that mother for defending her child. Turned out that the guy harassing her with a camera, threatening to post it online, happened to be a foreign pedophile. It seems so, based on what I've seen so far. If you have information to the contrary, please provide it. So yeah, turns out the guy was a pedophile, and this is why he was lurking around a playground, and this is why he was taking pictures and filming the kids, probably the child of that woman who said, what is it she said? Something to do with nigger, right? And it's about time that people can use that word. People should be able to use every word. I do not recommend using it to offend other people, but I know those places, and I know how things work, the dynamics around those areas, and blacks agree. All the black people I have talked about, they seem to agree that they don't like niggers either, do they? They hate niggers. The black people. I didn't say I hated niggers. I said that the black people hate niggers. So, do you disagree? If you happen to be black, do you disagree with that? I don't think you should, unless you happen to be one, but pun intended. But thing is, this is not a nice thing. And it's sad it gets to that point, but it's even sadder that a pedophile who is filming children in a playground tries to pretend to be the higher moral ground in a situation. It's just clown world. It is. Well, it seems that she won't need to worry about her finances anymore. And I also come to realize something. I do like the people from the United States. The American people are fantastic people. I wouldn't say fantastic, but they're really nice people. I never have the beef with them. In the contrary, we help each other whenever we can. They seem to be more fair than the average person. However, your administrations are terrible, and for you and now for the world. The current vice president said horrible things again against Denmark. That makes me wonder why. And it seems that he's financed by one of those billionaires who has plans for him. And I'm not concerned about the United States administrations taking action against Denmark right now. It does concern me that we might see it 30 years from now when Stingray from Cobra, I mean Vance, that's not his real name, by the way. The guy is, as a typical millennial, no offense, it's a fact. He's very insecure about himself. So he has changed his name several times over, what makes it kind of creepy in some ways. Why would he do that? But again, you do you. But I don't like what he's saying about Denmark because Denmark has always bled for the United States. Since its inception, Denmark was one of the first 3 countries, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, to recognize the United States as a nation, as a sovereign nation. And since then, Danes have been very active in defending the rights of Americans. They shed blood several times, including during the Civil War, where Danes fought at the side of the Union, the winning side, ending the Civil War. They were part of a regiment, or several American regiments, fighting at the side of the Union. So since then, not to mention the Korean War that Denmark sent despite not having much money because they were experiencing with socialism back then, not nowadays. Denmark today is a capitalistic country, for those who do not know. I recommend you to avoid claiming that it's a social mixing, confusing socialism with social benefits. The reason, as other more prominent people point out, that we have social security in Scandinavian countries is to ensure the workers that they have a safety net to fall on when they are unemployed before they can look for job again. Because I don't know if you know that, if you are going to ask here in Europe, at least, if you're going to ask for unemployment benefits, you have to register yourself and you have to be registered as looking for job and available, and they are going to contact you and ask you about how you were doing, if you already found a job, if you want to have a job, teach, do anything. They will kind of press you to get a job, and by your own moral convictions, by the way that at least Scandinavians have been educated. It's a big disgrace not to have a work. So they jump right into work as soon as they can. Um, and they win a lot of other benefits as retirement fund. You know, the more you work here, you actually paid more when you retire. So there's also that. There are many incentives for people to continue to work. They are not screwed like people are very screwed in the United States, which they are. It seems there seem to be promises of changes in this area, but I'm not really sure about what pertains to the United States. But I wish the people of the United States well. I have no issues with them. On the contrary, all contact I have, personal, physical contacts I had with Americans, it was based in mutual respect. I remember this time that I saw there was a young girl, and she was in the train, and I was going to the military training, some exercise in the countryside, and I saw that she was alone and she seemed to be concerned. So I stood close to her. I was in full uniform, so with my name tag on, and I said that she didn't need to be concerned. I was there to take a look. I asked where her parents were, and she told me that her mother was waiting in the station, and she was a bit concerned, so I decided to take care of her. When I came out, it turned out that the mother was American. And of course, I went to introduce myself to the mother. Actually, no, I didn't introduce myself. I waved from because I was late, late for the military. Good luck with me. And her mother came to talk to me, to thank me, and then because I told her that I was in a hurry, she offered to drive me to the military camp because coincidences. Her husband was in the Danish military. She was an American woman married to a Danish military man. So she drove me really fast, like we literally flew over. It was a brilliant moment where the car flew over some bumps in the road. It was fascinating, you know. So when I was studying in an English school in Spain, the English boys were kind of how can I put it? Because I was not English, so they would try to fight me, but they didn't know how to fight, so I would usually kick their asses. And but the English women were fantastic. The English girls were fine, but the English boys, well, as it should be in a way, right? Like boys should be rough, boys should be tough. At least they tried. But this ended because I was all alone there, right? As a foreigner in a way, and so they were trying to pick on me and they couldn't, and that left them very frustrated. Until an American guy came along, like the Americans started going to that school, to that English school, and they took my side immediately. And when they took my side, when the English boys saw that the Americans took my side, they stopped messing with me. So cowards, right? Cowards. It seems to be, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm probably totally wrong, but there is a little taint of cowardice I have noticed in certain societies, not to mention names. So, yeah. So I had good experiences with English, with Americans, with English women most definitely. I won the award of best student in English language. That was then. I used to speak with a perfect English accent. Unfortunately, media ruined it for me. Now I speak with an American accent. Sometimes when I am excited, I speak with something that sounds like Scottish accent. One day you'll hear that if you haven't seen that previously in some of my videos. But with American people, I'm just mentioning some of the experiences, personal experiences I had with them that made me empathize with their people. And this is why I was defending, I lost friends here in Scandinavian countries for defending, especially in Denmark, for defending Trump before Trump threatened Greenland. I was defending Trump, but then he started threatening Danish territory, and that was not nice. So I had to change my mind about Trump, and because they seem to continue, or he seems to allow, and he said that he does that to tease, but still, I don't like it. Because, as I said several times here already, Denmark has shed blood for the United States. The United States never really shed blood for Denmark. The invasion and all, they only came when it was pretty, like when the Germans were completely defeated. So it was not really that they really helped us. And I believe, as far as it goes, that it were mainly the English who came to free us. But correct me. Point being, Danes never sacrificed anything for Denmark. Denmark always sacrificed for them. in terms of military percentages, if we are to compare, and populations and everything. Denmark has always given the US and was not really given back anything in return. So I don't think it's fair that now, despite all Denmark did for the United States so far, that one president tries to brag about trying to bully a smaller country, which I do not recommend. Apparently, he never dealt with Danes. The immediate consequence of the first time that he tried to bully Denmark was that the Danes bought the railway, the rights over the Panamanian railway. So you know what the railways in Panama, they are used to drag the ships that are going through the canal. And apparently now Denmark has a cut. So they took a cut in what is an American pride, that they own the Panama Channel. So not anymore, apparently. The rights of railway transportation rights fell to Denmark now. It's in Danish hands. So technically, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Denmark is getting 1/3 of the cut on this one. So yeah, you know, Danes are very unique people. You shouldn't mess with them. They are not really afraid of a conflict. It doesn't matter how many they are. See the cartoon scandals. Denmark was a loudmouth. We have the icons and symbols that are still used to this day on the whole kerfuffle. While the Americans were condemning Denmark for freedom of speech, then Danes were pushing for freedom of speech. So let's give Denmark some support here, especially if you are an American. I know you're good people. I am aware that you saved the Mormons when the Mormons were being abused by your government. Well, as soon as the American people became aware of what the American military was doing to the Mormons, they put a stop to it, because the American people are good people. Your government might have some issues, but you people generally are good people. I have no complaint against American people, against the American people. But I think it's counterproductive, and it is going to bite the United States in the bum. Because what is going to happen? Danes are going to become aware that suddenly they have an issue that they need to fix. And the issue, they are going to conclude, Danes are going to conclude, that this thing of having 1, 2 kids is not working. It's prejudicial to Denmark. Denmark used to have around 9 to 12 kids per woman in the household. And I know my grandfather, he was the 9th son in a family. So all the others were girls, and he was the only son of that line. So I know for sure that it was a thing in Denmark to have many kids. And knowing Danes, they were probably at some point by their own volition. There's one thing Danes hate a lot, is somebody telling them what to do. It's a bad idea. And this is why I'm telling the American administration, hey, that's a bad idea what you're doing. If Trump is doing that to kind of wake Denmark up to the fact that they need to rise up, I'm not sure he's doing it the right way. However, let's see. Point being, Danes don't like to be bullied. They are not scared of a fight. When after the Napoleonic Wars, they removed the fleet, the Danish fleet, because Danes sided with Napoleon. Sweden tried to take advantage of that fact, and they threatened an invasion. And what the Danes did, they installed cannons in the boats, the lifesavers and all the boats that you put in a ship So they couldn't have the ships, they had to tear it apart, but the boats, like the life-saving boats and the transportation boats and all that, they kept, and they installed cannons, one cannon per lifesaver boat, and they went rowing to meet the Swedish fleet. That's the kind of people Danes are, historically. They never ceased to be. When Denmark was under the occupation, and that Austrian bastard gave Denmark a lot of ultimatums and told the king not to get out of the castle, and all those socialist joys of repression and threats, the Danish king ignored and went in his horse every day to see if the Danish population was being well treated by the Germans. The king didn't give a damn about the German threats. That's the kind of people that Danes are. And the Danes went to meet the king, despite the Germans threatening, no, you shouldn't go have public manifestations and all that. When the last time before that war that the Danes had an issue with the Germans, and the Germans forbade southern Denmark of waving the Danish flag, Danes started developing plants with red leaves, and they started decorating the Christmas trees with red and white. And Danes, when Danes went as far as starting to develop, starting to breed pigs, so the pigs would be red with white stripes of the Danish flag. The Prussians, right? They say, okay, you know what? You do what you want, because suddenly southern Denmark or northern Germany, depending how you see it, was being painted literally in red and white. Okay, so that's the kind of people Danes are. They might not confront you directly because it's impolite, but they will do something about it. You can be sure of it. They really, really, really dislike threats. You shouldn't do that, because they will defy you for fun. They will defy you for their own amusement, because that's the spirit, because they have the spirit of an old sailor. Every young Dane has the spirit of an old sailor. And if there's one thing that people know in life, is never to mess with an old sailor. So there's that. Now, I cannot threaten anyone with anything. I don't need to. I'll let nature run its course. But Denmark was here way before the United States were, and it will be here way before after it's gone. The United States is but an experiment in freedom of speech and freedom of movement. And if you start sabotaging this European experiment in freedom, you have no idea what's coming to get you. It's not me, but something will happen out of it, and it won't be pretty. So I'm trying to help you guys here, to help yourselves and stop teasing people. You have no idea how they will behave about it. Danes are very loved in Europe for several reasons, because they're nice people, and they're strong people, and they're stern people, and they're stubborn people, but fun, because they're polite, and their spirit, even when they're drunk, they don't get violent, like, for instance, Finns tend to get. They get happy. They get playful. They toy with you. They mess with your head when they're drunk. It's fun to be with Danes when they drink, because they are happy. They're joyous. They don't get aggressive and itchy. So consider this: an ally that has always bled for you, and you never really gave anything in return. You really never did. You never did. We can compare what one country did for the other. We can compare. There's nothing. What, when the Germans were beaten and it was just a matter of occupying the space because they didn't have any, the Danes, by the way, had taken over. Like, we beat the Germans when we saw that the whole thing was going down. We just shot them and we made them clear their mines. They had landmined the entirety of our beaches. We used their soldiers to clear up their mines. Do you understand? So when the Americans and English and when the Allies came here, mainly the English, I believe it was Montgomery, the job was done. Everybody was ready to receive them because the Germans were defeated already. So technically, the Danes defeated the Germans in Denmark. So it took a bit longer, but hey, that's the way Danes do it, right? So, not a good idea. It will have consequences. For instance, the first time Trump made a threat, what happened was NATO was activated. That's something that you might not read in your media, but I read. And I'm fully aware, or partially aware, about what happened. I don't know all the details, but I know a few. And I know that NATO was activated because it was a threat. It goes against paragraph 5. And they considered, they made a meeting without the Americans. That's something that you also are not aware of. Where the Americans were not invited and they were denied entrance to, where the other NATO countries discussed paragraph 5 and paragraph 4, or Article 5 and Article 4 of the NATO treaty. And then they took measures, because it seems, and that's also something that your media is not telling, probably because they have been censored by the current American administration. The Americans were sending a fleet towards Greenland, because their idea was, they sent the vice president there. It seems that the plan, okay, because it didn't happen, so it seems. The plan was to send the vice president to, it was a election in Greenland where they were deciding independence from Denmark. Vance wanted to propose them joining the United States. The thing is that the United States have nothing to offer, and Greenlanders, because they are clever, they thought for a minute and they said, okay, what does the United States has to offer us? And then they saw what they did to Hawaii. They saw what they did to Guam. They saw what they did to everywhere that they went. Once it's a territory, an American territory, they don't have a voice in Congress. They really don't. They have to do what they're told. So suddenly the Greenlanders that have technically 1/8 of the Danish parliament, they would have 0 in the American Congress. So why should they join? They don't get anything out of it. So of course the Greenlanders not only decided not to file for independence, but to take the Danish side, to remain under Danish sovereignty, which is okay, because Greenlanders technically are self-sufficient, like they are autonomous in their decisions on what to do in Greenland. So it was a disaster. The vice president, American vice president, suddenly was stuck in Greenland and didn't know what to do. Nobody wanted to see him, and the Danish had to bring 100 police officers from Denmark all the way to Greenland, because the Greenlanders wanted to stone the American vice president. Yes. You probably didn't hear that in your media, did you? It happened. They wanted to stone Vance, or whatever his name is. Who cares? This guy is a nobody. And what happened then? Because NATO had been activated, Canada and France, they took the lead in that sense, and while the Danish were preparing a force, and Danes already have fleet in Greenland, but there was an American fleet coming to Greenland because they were going to, occupy Greenland. The American vice president was there to technically recognize Greenland as a new American territory. Yeah, your current administration is bonkers. Look, nationally he might be doing great things, but internationally it's a really bad idea what he's doing. He's sabotaging all the American allies. It's a bad idea. It's going to bite you in the ass when the Russians want Alaska back, because Putin already said that he wants Alaska back. So it's just as soon as he gets solved with this issue, he's going to look at the next victim. And the Americans are alienating themselves against the world in that one, and they are losing allies really fast. And now they keep trying to poke Denmark. It's because they probably will try to literally wage war in 30 years or so to try to get it. I see it coming because there is someone behind that little loser that currently goes by the name of Vance, Mr. Nobody. And he's like a puppet for those interests. And they're going to try to take it. So what happened was that Canada and France, they sent fleet to the area to meet with the American fleet. And at the same time, Danes were sending troops to occupy Greenland and to have to deal with the 200 people in the base. That is not American, it's a NATO base. Let me get that clear. The bases that Americans have in Europe and Greenland, they are NATO bases. They belong to NATO. They don't belong to the United States, okay? They were built with your money. Your government is calling you suckers. But in official records, it is NATO bases, okay? They belong to NATO. So say the first sign of any American strife against NATO, you lose all the bases to begin with, because officially you never had them. They are NATO bases. So what will happen in Europe and Greenland and everywhere is that the troops that are in those bases are going to be surrendered one way or another, because they don't belong anymore, because the bases are NATO. Do you understand how you're being had? And meanwhile, your administration is wasting money in all those bases that don't even belong to them, just so they can play tough. Thing is, the credibility of people who lost to Somali troops, Vietnamese and Afghan might be, but Somali, come on, don't really have a high moral, right? Like, I think people are not really concerned about American troops anymore. Sorry to inform you. As Russians, they currently see that they are hopeless. So, yeah, it's sad, it's terrible, but that's the reality of the fact, okay? You were great. You did help when both sides were exhausted, so you just picked a side to profit from, to exploit, and you shouldn't be poking Europe back into power and having to deal with military expenses, because, my friend, a caveat emptor, buyers beware. If Europe has to pull its sleeves up to become a military power, they will. That's the thing, that Europeans are most efficient historically are as military powers. So that's one thing they excel at. So I wouldn't go that venue because Europeans are waking up to that fact. Now they sped up military production. So that's not a good sign for the United States, because what the United States is doing by alienating people like that, they're losing the international weapons trade that is now falling into the laps of several European countries. So that was a bad idea. So there is nothing really much to say anymore about that, because it's pretty clear it was a big mistake by the side of your current administration to try to threaten Europe back into becoming a military power. And this thing of threatening Denmark, it was a disaster, and this is why your media never said a peep about it. But alternative media clearly shows that the French fleet was there and the Canadian fleet was there to meet the American fleet that was to intercept the American fleet that was on the way to Greenland to celebrate their new acquisition, which didn't happen, and it was a disaster because the locals wanted to stone Vance. So I think that the plan B, failing the Greenland election, was to cause a situation with Vance where he would be attacked or killed. And this is why he is a nobody. He is a pawn in terms of political power. He's just a pawn that is being used, and it's as expendable as a pawn in a game of chess. So the intention was probably to get him killed or attacked, so the United States could cry foul and invade. Because the fleet, again, was on its way to occupy Greenland. But because they were intercepted so quickly by NATO, and they were kind of baffled that NATO made I don't seriously know why they would be surprised about it, that NATO made a meeting without them because of that, because the Americans are infringing still in paragraph 5 the Americans didn't expect that swift response from the European community in general. And I don't know why, but it shows that someone there is not doing their job really in the United States. So it ended up, the media didn't talk about it, only like very in page number 5 onwards. And it was a disaster in all fields, and Vance had to run back home with a tail between his legs. It was ridiculous. It was tragicomic. But Trump now threatened again because, of course, he don't want to lose his reputation of being a bully. So, but it's backfiring spectacularly. Because he did it again, I don't know what Danes are going to do next, because they already, on this one, they acquired the rights over the Panamanian railways. Now he threatened again. I don't know what the Danes are going to do next, but I can assure you it's going to be hilarious. So, and again, American people, I love you. You are fine people. I have at least, even if you're not fine, but at least I have no personal complaint. But your current administration's a disgrace. So they are ruining you, and they are sabotaging the United States, okay? They don't seem to know what they are doing. So, yeah, it's sad. I wanted to talk about it for a long while. I'm glad that now I have the opportunity, because it's my birthday video, so I can say whatever I want here. And what else did I wanted to talk about? Yeah, about my national project, it's still ongoing. It's a bit, I had other priorities to take care of, including myself. But I'm managing to overcome the difficulties I still had, so I can pull this national project, which I'm moving full speed ahead very soon. I'm just being careful, rather safe than sorry, to do everything legally, of course, according to the law, never against the law. So, yeah, it's going fine. You don't need to worry. Soon you'll hear about me in a good way. So, I'll do good things to help others. About technology, let's see. I'm loving what it seems to be happening. They managed to find a way to revert the process of decantation of oil into plastic. So they managed to revert the process, and now they seem to, by the chemical dump that the plastic produces when they burn the plastic, they isolated it, and it produces a chemical dump. And this chemical dump added some ingredients. It transforms plastic back into oil, or at least petroleum, something that is similar to pitch that can be used for several more reasonable things. And this means that, those areas in open sea where they are forming islands, and actually technically two continents are being formed out of plastic. Well, as soon as these inventions, there's more than one, there's 3 or 4 I have seen that are related to that, to transforming plastic back into something that they can use. Big companies are going to they are probably going to buy the rights, the patents, and they're going to start using it to clear those areas, because the amount of money they can make out of that, converting plastic into, and the process seemed to be very cheap, converting plastic back into petroleum at least. It's going to be fascinating. They're going to clear it in a decade or so. They're going to clear all those horrible areas, and whenever it piles up again, all they need to do is to send in the specialized boats to reconvert it to petroleum. And it's just, I'm really happy with what the Gen Z, because those seem to be inventions of Gen Z, not millennials, of Gen Zs. I'm really happy, positively. I always had my hopes for the Gen Z, especially because they are partially educated by Gen Xers. So, and if you heard anything about Gen Xers, guilty as charged, something good would come out of it, something productive would come out of it. So, and now it seems that the boomers are not capable of stopping, and the millennials are broken because the boomers broke the millennials. I would actually, no offense, millennials, it's to try to make you aware of an issue you have as a group. But I'm thinking of starting calling the millennials as the broken generation, because the boomers broke them. They broke you, millennials. The boomers broke you. They made you believe in things that are not true just to fool you so you could do their bidding, right? So they taught you to do paperwork so you could help them with their retirement funds, and that's it. You mean nothing to them, and they probably, with very few exceptions, but the exception proves the rule, they will leave nothing other than debt for you millennials. Gen Xers are minding their own business, as they always did and always probably will, and raising their own kids. So you will be on your own. And if you're being nice to the boomers because you really believe that they're going to leave everything for you, you are in for a rough ride. I can tell you that. They are not. They're not going to leave. Very few, but again, exception proves the rule, that the boomers are out there to ruin you as well as they ruined everybody else. So I don't think they're going to leave anything behind for you. They're going to leave debts. I heard some got houses from boomers, but then we pushed enough and we found out they were not really boomers, they were the greatest generation. So you are in for a rough ride, millennials. So yeah, I move into to call millennials as the broken generation because unfortunately you're being broken by the boomers. So once they saw they couldn't control us, they pour all their efforts in controlling you. Remember the helicopter parents, something we didn't have. We had neglective parents, and suddenly they became helicopter parents. Why? Because they realized, oh, we are growing old, and when we grow older, we will need someone to to manage the paperwork to our retirement funds and all that. So this is why. Okay, they are colder than you think. They're hypocrites, and they're out to get you too. So yeah, it's sad. Whenever I think of the relationship between millennials and boomers, I think in the way that Silver treated Stingray in Cobra Kai. They nailed it. They nailed it. But anyway, that's my birthday speech, and I wish all the subjects of my nation and the independent ones as well, my good for you, and good for you for believing and helping me achieve this dream that is a unified dream. If I gain, we will all gain with it. It will take effort from all of us, but once we achieve it, oh, the benefits we can, oh, it's coming. Because unfortunately, as in the exhibition 20 years ago, I come to realize people need pointers, they need things they can relate to. And that's what I have been working on in a way that I don't change my ideas, I don't sell out, and I stick to my original plan, but because it's so far ahead, like in terms of comprehension, because the concepts are so fresh in many ways. Some are recycled, and I'm trying to figure recycled things I can recycle that has to do with the new ideas that I'm trying to bring about to this world, to the people. That it's hard for me, it's really hard to find a relatable thing that has to do with current symbolism and things so people can relate, so they can see themselves in it, because most people don't have an idea, and I don't blame them, because I'm envisioning completely new systems, new ways of life, and it's hard to translate that into a language that everybody can understand in a way, because the concept is so new. It's so different because of the technology we live under. We cannot keep living under 19th century mindset and 18th century and 15th century and God knows Iron Age concept. We have to move forward. We cannot change our humanity. We have to embrace it. And this is the thing, how we connect our humanity with our technological development. And that's what I've been trying to figure out, and this is why it takes some time. Plus, all the personal issues I have to deal with, because whenever you're doing something like that, there's a lot of people trying to stop you. So, let's see what happens. But I believe I will be able to translate all I'm attempting to do to bring about this new reality that we inevitably are going to go through about, and it's going to be glorious for all of us. It's going to be great. It's going to be good. You don't need to worry. In the contrary, okay. The world is not going to be a dystopia. It's going to be something else. So something better. Like it has, things have been improving. They will improve. We should not, by any means, stick to failed ideologies, to failed beliefs, to failed religious systems. We have to move past that. Because if we get stuck, we are not going to go back to some cozy past. We are going to be destroyed because our technology has evolved so beyond those needs from the past, that we don't need them anymore. They are going to destroy us. We have moved ahead. Our brains have been wired for this new reality, and we need to move forward. However, thanks to economics that I have studied, I have come to understand that before you try something in a massive scale, and that's the error of those 19th, 20th century ideologies, you have to start with a small model. You have to try it small. You have to make an economical model. In this case, you have to make a reality model to try it first, to see if it not just works, but if it also can counter the incoming, it's inevitable, blow of the old systems that will try to destroy it, as they have done so far. So it's going to be interesting, and it's worth a shot. At least I will try to do it in a positive way, legal way. No threat, with people who are mutually interested. If you are not interested, move along. I don't want you. I don't need you. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. Elsewhere, not with me, because I have this idea in mind, and other people with similar ideas are coming to the same conclusion, so it's inevitable. It's an inevitability, what is coming. It's a whole new system, and I just need to learn how to communicate it in a way that everybody can understand. And not because you would be less intelligent and all this nonsense. No, this is nonsense. It's because it's a whole new concept. How can I communicate a whole new language to everybody? See, the more we speak, the more complicated it gets, more confusing, right? So I don't want to do that, and this is why I've been silenced for so long, because I need to be sure that at least it's understandable. So, yeah. But soon. I'm just talking about it because it's my birthday and I can open up a bit about what I've been doing so far. I'm really happy for all the help I'm getting, for all those who help me, even with their comments or their points of view. Look, I'm thankful and I'm listening, and you're doing a great job. You're helping me more than you could ever know. I'm very thankful for all the help. If I don't personally tell you that, if I don't kiss you every week and every month, is because I don't think you would like it, or neither you asked for it. So I don't want to be filed for sexual harassment. Because now everything seems to be technically rape, right? So, no. But good news, everyone. Good news are coming, okay? Let's keep doing this. Believe, and you'll see the dragon fly.